Well, hey, today on Gun Talk Hunt, we are talking about this little guy right here. This is the Banish 30 at Silencer Central. We've got Brandon Maddox on the show today. Tune in. Welcome in, Gun Talk hunters around the world. I'm sure we get listened to around the world, right? I mean, it's the interwebs. We've got it all everywhere, but you're probably getting ready to head out to the fields. I'm sure you guys are probably scouting this weekend, probably checking those bean fields up in Iowa, I'm sure. But today's guest is a very exciting one, a good friend of mine, and very successful guy at what he does. We're going to bring in Brandon Maddox from Silencer Central. Brandon, how you doing, bud?
Great. Thanks for having me, KJ.
Man, I tell you, the world of suppressors never ceases to amaze me. And we're going to dive into that. But first, this one's brought to you by, it's brought to you by SAUER. They do a little bit of everything. Man, a lot of that cross rifle is something else. But Brandon, so hunting season's getting started. And I know guys are like, well, why are you having on Silencer Central now? It's not going to get me to hunting season, but you have a fix for that. So it's not too late. I want to tell people to get a suppressor between, now and like towards the end of November when some of the rifle seasons are going to kick off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's been exciting is the ATF recently went to an all eForms process. They still accept paper forms, but they said 97% of the forms coming in currently for suppressor transfers and suppressor purchases are the new eForms. And we're seeing them come back in like 100 to 120 days. So it's pretty consistent. There's always 35% of people
Wow.
that background check wise, whether they have a common name of a felon or if they've been arrested and has to be manually reviewed or whatever. But 65% of them are clipping right at that 100 to 120 day mark, which is it's exciting for us.
See, that's where I think I'm in trouble. Because there is a Kevin Jarnagin out there that has soiled my good name.
Yeah. What
And
happens? What do you think?
I'm going to tell him, like, man, just stop doing what you're doing. Uh, but
No,
there really is a bad Kevin Jarnagin out there. I feel like I'm more the good one.
that's
Now
funny.
everybody's on Google, like, oh my gosh, what did this guy do? Like, he's a horrible individual, and I have no clue who he is. But talk a little bit about Silencer Central, because some big news came out on August 16th, and which is really exciting because you guys made the Inc. 5,000 list.
Yeah, absolutely. In the past we hadn't applied, so I don't know how we would have done in the past, but we applied for the year 2021, and they wanted our financials, our audited financials. They wanted our tax returns for 2019, 20, and 21. And what they saw is we'd grown at over 500%, and we were the fastest growing company in the city that we're in here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which it's not a huge town, 200,000. And then we were in the top three for the state of South Dakota. And then of course we were in the right around that top 3,000. Well, actually it was 1,300, top 1,300 out of 5,000. So really in like that top 25% of the list of 5,000. So it's exciting. You don't typically see firearms companies in the list. Um, I don't recall ever seeing one in the past, but I know a lot of the manufacturers out there are publicly traded, so this was just private privately owned companies. But no, it's super exciting for us. I mean, at the end of the day, when I first started doing this, you would work gun shows, and it's always a credibility issue. Back when I started in 2005, almost 20 years ago, people look at a hear suppressor, they think back alley, dark, everyone, what's going on here, just sort of a hush hush. And so we were always looking for ways to bring credibility to the situation so people could see, A, it's legal. When I first started, that was the biggest question is, are these legal? And then just to bring credibility to us. So to have a third party, a national organization confirm that we're one of the, fastest growing companies in America was good for us, just honestly from a legitimacy standpoint. So people see suppressors are lawful. And also hopefully hunters get excited about it. I know in the past hunters were like, I I don't shoot 100 rounds a day at prairie dogs. I don't know if I really need one. And then once you get a guy to use one on whitetail, even if he only shoots a few shots a year, 100% of the time he's hooked, his wife's hooked, his kids are hooked. So it's
Oh
fun to see
yeah.
it evolve over the years.
Oh, it's funny because, actually, this suppressor right here, this is the Silencer Central Banish 30. I'm holding in my hand. If you're listening through your podcast, I'm sorry you don't get to see all the goodness that I'm holding right now. The deer actually on this desk was taken with a Banish 30.
Oh wow.
And I tell you what, both my boys shot their deer this year with Banish 30 suppressor. Um, and it's not that maybe like it's a great suppressor, and I'm gonna buy like 4 more of them, I'm sure. But the thing about it is that it goes on every gun like that I have.
Yeah.
And my boys won't hunt without it now. And they will have less hearing loss than I do.
Yeah.
But by
Yeah.
doing that, uh, do it for the
So,
kids.
I get pushback from like hunters that I don't talk about recoil enough. I mean, did you notice a recoil reduction? Did your sons mention that as feedback that, because a lot of people are like, wow, why didn't you tell me it was going to reduce recoil? And I'm like, well, I sometimes forget. My
What
apologies, but it seems to help.
it does. Their experience with it, and they've shot before, and they've shot 22 suppressed, but my youngest, he's 8 years old, and he has never shot like a bigger gun suppressed. So when he shot it, he was shocked. Like
Yeah.
I mean, and he is a very little guy. Like he is not a big kid. And for him to be able to shoot dad's 6'5" Creedmoor, um, he absolutely loves it, just because it's suppressed and he doesn't get the loud ringing in his ears.
Yeah. Cool.
Because I mean, and think about it, not only like the recoil reduction, just think of the how uncomfortable some of the hearing protection is for youth,
Oh yeah, totally.
let alone ourselves.
Yeah, no, and it's always feel like, at least in my world, hunting is a social activity. Typically, you're doing with other people, and recently having gone on an Africa hunt where no one had to wear a suppressor, and you have a fairly large group there, you could tell that was unique for everyone and much more enjoyable. Even in South Africa, where they're not regulated, you could tell that most people don't go over there and shoot 100% suppressed. So it's sort of a game
Really.
changer, even for like the guides and the trackers and everything, to have someone that's all we did for a whole 10 days. Was Everyone there was just shooting 100% suppressed. So it's
So what calibers were you guys utilizing down there, and what suppressors did you guys go with?
yeah, good question. So obviously we took the Banish 30, same one you have. Omojevi is who I used. We hooked up with them at Dallas Safari Club, and they recommended 300 Win Mag on everything. So we basically, I shot an eland with a 300 Win Mag, and I shot a, springbuck or ostrich and baboon with 300 Win Mag. Seemed to work perfect. But I'm convinced that eland, when I shot him, I don't think he knew he got shot. I mean, I had to shoot him a few times, but it wasn't loud enough, and I wasn't that far away from him. He kind of
Yeah.
looked at me like, okay, what was that? It is a very interesting to see the difference when you shoot animals suppressed. They don't, they're not as sure, like, well, what just happened? It's not like that they hear a loud noise and run. So it's a different phenomenon. I'd tell you that you've probably seen it where the trackers love it, because they can tell by the sound of that hit whether it's a kill shot. And that's what they're
Yeah.
listening for when that gun goes off. And a lot of times they can't hear the kill shot because they just hear the explosion of the bullet.
Right. And there's probably standing in the worst spot too if you're shooting like a
100%.
big muzzle brake. Um,
Yeah.
but that's interesting you say that, because I've got a buddy who I converted into a total suppressor snob right now. Because he was hunting with me in the same area that I hunt with my boys, and he had never shot uh suppressed. And so
Right.
I was hunting, yeah, so I was hunting with him, and he had his ears. I was like, "Oh no, you don't need those. Here, just shoot my gun," because he had missed a deer with his gun. That's why he was shooting my gun now. And so I was going with him because that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Um, and he shot and missed a deer.
Ah, yeah.
That deer had no clue. He just knew there was a pop, and then, I told him my buddy was just disheartened. I mean, completely disheveled. He was being real hard on himself, and I go, "Hey, the deer's not going anywhere. He's right there. I could see him." And he was, I mean, he'd only kind of jogged off about 20 yards. I was like, "He's gonna come back in. Don't worry about it." And sure enough, he moves through the opening. He was like, why did he not leave? I was like, because he does no clue where that sound's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say that. Like a lot of guys out here in the Dakotas, when they would coyote hunt, they would say I'd shoot. If I missed, the bullet went over the coyote and it dropped behind them and they start running towards me because they just, like you said, they can't tell where it came from. But no, that's a great story. I mean, of course, it sounds like a sales pitch when we talk to people at shows and say, hey, if you miss, then you're going to get another shot. You're not going to pollute the area. Other people can continue to hunt there.
Yeah.
A lot of people, oh, I never miss. I don't need a suppressor. But when they actually experience it like your friend did, it is a game changer.
Well, we in that same area, and I'm talking like, so we hunted within it, we all shot suppressed because both my boys shot bucks out of there. He shot a buck out of the same spot. And I had another buddy come in and he shot one out of there too. So we had 4 bucks taken off the same, I would say it's probably a quarter section or so.
Sure.
And we all shot, like they all shot, we shot 4 bucks off that spot. And it was
Oh,
because
wow.
we were shooting suppressed because we didn't ring everything out of the countryside.
Yeah, no, totally. No, that's a good story. No, I appreciate you sharing that because a lot of people, even when it happens, they don't want to admit to it.
No, no, I mean, misses happen. I miss,
Totally, 100%.
and if you can just increase your odds just a little bit about a follow-up shot, and maybe it's a shot that maybe you didn't miss, but maybe it's a shot that wasn't as good as you had practiced.
Yeah,
And those follow-up shots are so important.
100%. Yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest thing I learned in Africa is don't ask, shoot again. It's almost like after you got one shot in, even if you think it's dead and it's rolling over, it's like as it's falling, shoot again. Because if you didn't, they took off.
Well, and that's part of one, like I can't imagine like tracking animals in Africa because there's, you know, I sometimes worry about coyotes getting on my meat here. You
Yeah,
guys are
true.
worried. You guys are worried about lions,
Yeah,
so
true. It's funny.
lions or cheetahs or something like that. So you owe it to yourself because
Yeah, totally.
we always
Yeah,
talk about that. Like, hey, we owe it to the animal to like bring them down quickly. And that's what we all
yep,
strive to do, even
yep.
over in Africa. But in Africa, you're doing it to benefit yourself,
Yeah, totally. 100%.
and your trackers, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess your trackers would kind of appreciate you dropping them on the spot or within 20 yards.
totally. 100%.
Let's talk about on the other side of this break. Let's talk a little bit about someone. Okay, we've whet their appetite. We've got them excited about suppressors. What's the process that needs to happen for them to get into their new suppressor? And we're going to hit that on the other side of this break. This Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Sig Sauer. The Sig Sauer cross rifle is by far one of my favorites. I own one. It is a 18-inch 6.5 Creedmoor. I know. I get a lot of hate thrown my way about the 6.5 Creedmoor, but you know what? It puts down a lot of deer and antelope. So I will probably continue to shoot it on those game. But no, the cross rifle for me is a backcountry hunter's dream. The foldable buttstock on it makes it light, compact. It's highly skeletonized, and man, it just runs efficiently. I love it. They offer it in a 277 Sig Fury, a 308. So if you're looking to get into a lightweight backpack type gun, I would say the Sig Sauer Cross is probably a direction you want to look. And if you are a hunter and already have a cross, you're like, well, why is this guy feeding me news about a Sig Sauer Cross? Well, it's because they also offer it in a precision rifle series gun. So if you're getting in the PRS game and want to shoot a cross, they've got you covered at sigsauer.com. All right, we're back. I can't talk today. It almost seems like a Monday to me. But we are back with Brandon Maddox of Silencer Central. Appreciate him taking time out of his busy day because he runs, I would say, the most efficient at what they do business. They are efficient at getting you in and out of, you get them online, suppressors, and doing it quickly. Because there was a time when I had to wait. I think my record wait was a year and 3 months for a suppressor.
Oh, wow.
and we're down to, in that 90-day range, I mean, you get the lucky guy who gets his within, 14 days or whatever. What is the record?
We had one in 9 days. I sort of checked out mentally after that. There's probably been quicker. It's just,
9
yeah,
days?
yeah.
Think I
It is
If you're listening to
arbitrary.
this.
Yeah, no, we have seen them in 9 days. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the hard part is then we get a call from the other, 75,000 customers we have that have waited.
Yeah. That are waiting there at like 88 days, and they're going, "Is my suppressor gonna be here?" And it's not a guarantee. I think that's what we
Yeah,
need to tell everybody. You're still dealing with a government entity
100%.
that
Yep.
like, you're gonna have to cut them some slack, but it is quicker. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's the main goal here, is that it is quicker, and processes are getting slimlined, and that's a lot due to you and your team. How'd you guys get started, like, trying to navigate that process and make it easier for guys and gals?
A good question. So, Sandwich Central started like 2005. I really doubled down and started working at gun shows, say like 2009.
Mhm.
And honestly, I think the gun shows and the sportsman shows were the best thing we could do because you're seeing the customer face to face. So there's enough gun shows here in the Dakotas that you probably going to see them every weekend for about 3 months, and you're getting real time feedback on how the process is for the customer real time. And you hear the pressure points, you hear the frustrations, you hear the potential areas that you can enhance and make better. It's like, hey, I have to send at a show we do your fingerprints there and we
Mhm.
take your picture there. But if it's on the phone or online, then you basically just mail them to us. So the inside of just giving a postage paid return envelope so you can mail anything you need to back to us. Just the little things. But then
Right.
also the bigger things of working with our regulatory authority that's over us, ATF, working with them where we could streamline all the paperwork so it's all 100% digital. So really everything we do from the second you buy until we ship it to your front door, it's all handled digitally. So you could do it from the comfort of your couch and not even really get up, which most people, I always say that in life, the easier you make it to spend money, there's a better chance they will. So that's,
Yeah.
and people have responded it that way.
Well, I think the biggest, man, you've knocked down a lot of barriers, and I think that's the most important thing for folks to understand, is they're not. You don't have to go hire a lawyer or talk to a buddy who's a lawyer and say, "Hey, can you draft up, um, you know, the paperwork for me, or the trust? Like, I know I needed all this." And you guys have essentially just, it's all, you guys manage the trust even. That's how
Yeah.
thoroughly you guys work with these suppressor fanatics.
Yeah. We took the position early on that, trust is honestly the best way to buy a suppressor just because it allows joint ownership. We can help you after it's approved to add additional people on there that can use it when you're not there. And also, just from like a succession planning, it really is the best option.
Yeah.
Some people get a little confused with how does this impact other, trusts I have or things like that. Just think of this in isolation. It's just for suppressors or, short barrel rifles, machine guns, things like that. But yeah, it definitely has been a benefit to our customers that we add a free gun trust to every purchase. And we had them legally created for each state. And then also, like you said, we maintain it. What we typically recommend is put one person on the trust, and that would be the person in charge of it. And then the feds just sort of do a background check on one person. But then once it's approved, we can help you add additional people, and then those additional people can use it as well. And there's no vetting at that point. Like anyone that's added to the trust after it's approved, there's no background checks, there's no paperwork with the ATF. It's just simply adding them to the trust.
Now that's an interesting thing, because I think that's how I ended up doing it. And I was just going to ask you, like, man, well, how do guys or gals reach out to them, and if they want to add someone? Because I know, like, I'm going to want to add my boys on this, because there's
Oh,
going to
for
be a
sure,
day.
totally.
There's going to be a day when they look at dad and they say, "Dad, I think I'm ready to start hunting on my own."
Yeah.
Well, legally, and we try to do everything legally. Um, I still have to, like, I still need to go with them on
Yeah,
this.
yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It's state laws could be different, but federally it's pretty much the same. That as a dealer, you have to be 21 for me to sell it to you and transfer it to you. So same way as a handgun. but legally you can possess it at 18, just like a handgun, federal law.
Right.
So once they're 18, we can, help you facilitate putting them on a trust. And then, like you said, at the end of the day, the trust owns the suppressor. And if they're a co-owner of the trust, then they're fine being in possession with a suppressor. Obviously, as long as they're not prohibited for some reason, or not in
Right.
a state where they're illegal or something like that. But yeah, it's no, I find honestly that probably 10% of the people I talk to at shows did not buy a suppressor underneath the trust. And after you talk to them, they wish they had. And then it
Yeah.
becomes a discussion of, Brandon, can you help me take my other suppressor I have and put it on your trust so that, and I'll buy another silencer from you today. And it's, yes, sir, we'll make this work for you because we feel like it's the best way to go moving forward. It already defines who gets it when you pass away, and it also allows you to share it with other people. So it's totally a win-win.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about, what they need to look for in a suppressor, and let's get this process started. I'm a big fan of the Banish line. You
Yeah.
guys just came out with a 46 that's absolutely phenomenal, especially, man, if you got like a 4570 lever gun, that sucker is a pleasure to shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So, with us being based in the Dakotas, myself being, the founder and a hunter myself, obviously our line of silencers are more tailored to the hunting market. And I would say that what we heard from hunters as we worked shows was they want lightweight, but they still want durability. So they want titanium. They don't want aluminum because aluminum would give you lightweight, but it's just not as durable. So,
Right.
um, the Banish line are all titanium. They all come apart to clean. A lot of varmint hunters and some high round count shooters like the ability to be able to take their suppressor apart and clean it. So the Banish line offers that. I always say we're a dealer, so we could sell anything. It's just that us growing up in the whole hunting world, and that's always been our focus of getting feedback from the hunter and making changes to the products. You mentioned the 46, so it's been really popular the last couple like outdoor shoots we do. You're probably familiar with some of these editorial roundtables where you get invited by the NRA, you get invited by outdoor sporting group, other
Yeah.
big groups want to hear your product, and we've been putting it on the 375, and it's been super impressive. I mean, people walk away with, oh my gosh. I mean, these are gun people. Like that's all they do all day is write about gun stuff. And for them to sit behind a 375 and shoot it with that Banish 46, they're like in complete shock, like all like, wow, I can't believe this. Like even Adam Weatherby, we were at an event with him and he had a 3378 and of his Weatherby, and it was so loud. We were under an overhang and it just, the whole thing would just shake. And you could just tell everyone's like, man, I'm getting a headache. Um, and we put the Banish Gold on there, and instantly it made it hearing safe. And everyone is like, it got like a round of applause, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you can make it that quiet. And even he was like, no way, I can't believe how quiet that is. What is it you just put on my gun?
Yeah. I'll take three.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I think at first he was a little skeptical of the 3378. That's a big beast, but the gold,
Oh, yeah.
Banish Gold is definitely perfect for that. But no, I mean, and we do have, and I don't know when this will air, but we do have a new product coming out like December 1st that's going to be specific to hunting, and it's a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter. So
Don't say anything about it because this is gonna launch before. But
that's
just
all
to
right. I
be
mean, all of our products are lightweight titanium. They all come apart to clean. They're tailored to the hunter. If somebody's like looking for like a backcountry type thing, give us a call, get on the waiting list. There's cool things coming. So
I am gonna be on that list. I will tell you this right now. I have heard about this thing already, and I'm anxiously awaiting it because I hope I'll have one to run during our Kodiak adventure.
yeah, you will. Yeah,
So
you will. I
I'm
can I can
getting
speak
excited.
from, yeah. No, yeah. It's interesting because obviously I don't know if it's like my background. I'm always skeptical of stuff, but as we've sort of been previewing this to people like yourself that are in the industry and do this every day, all day, they get super excited. So when they get super excited, that makes me super excited. So I think we got
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
cool things coming.
Well, we're definitely excited here. What does your fall look like as far as hunting seasons?
You know, I I don't know that we have anything planned for like us internally. I know that there's a lot of groups that will go out and hunt, and then we offer them a free suppressor, just kind of like you guys have a
Oh,
hunt
yeah.
coming up where you're going to take one. But gosh, if you look at that list, there's hunts all over. I mean, antelope, elk, deer, everything. So it's exciting for us to be able to have connections with people like yourself and potentially have, say, 100 suppressors in the actual field that are ours, so we can get that real time feedback for the whole, into 2022, and then going into 2023 to get feedback on it.
Well, and I think that's pretty cool of our industry too, because we offer honest feedback. This isn't we do decibel readings, and you guys do as well. But to have multiple people using it over a wide variety of game, I think is great.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. My wife went to Africa with me. She couldn't believe I shot an ostrich, but it's funny, like who would ever probably use a suppressor on an ostrich? But yeah, I've got, experience with all different things, and have other people kind of give us feedback. It's helpful. I mean, and in all honesty, that's what kind of helped in evolution of new products. We come up with new products based on feedback from, discussions like we're having with you right now.
Yeah, what's the sight picture got to be? What's the kill zone of an ostrich? I'm kind of curious about what your sight picture was for that shot, because you said it earlier, and I was like, okay, I've heard of people, take an ostrich, but what would the sight picture be? Is it like a turkey?
Well, so here's what's interesting. I could see them really far off in the distance running. And he's like, okay, the ones with the black feathers are the males. I'm like, all right. And he's like, dude, most people don't shoot these because they're running. And so we tried to sneak up on them and went down a hill following them, and they came around us. I mean, they were like pretty bright, like circled around behind us. But we had a PH that one of the professional hunters was in the Jeep, and he kind of radioed us and said, hey, they're coming up behind you. You just need to turn around. But my wife would tell you it was a super lucky shot because they were running, and I basically just shot at the whole body part because it's just a bunch of black feathers,
Oh
and
yeah,
I hit him in the left leg, and it basically broke his leg, and he fell, and he was pretty much done when we got
done.
on. Yeah, we had
Oh
to put
well, with
another
the
bullet in him, but they're huge, man. It's like every one of us are sitting there looking at it like, dude, that's a dinosaur. I mean, it literally looked like a dinosaur. It was like the craziest thing I'd ever seen. The
that
guy
is
filming there is
wild.
like, it was crazy.
I want to know, is your wife going to allow you to do the full body mount?
Oh, so here's where I messed up. So, like, of course, in Africa and in the field hunting, you got no internet. So they ask you, as they're like getting it ready to put on the truck, what do you want done? And you hear someone say, hey, just do a front mount. That looks best. But when I got back to like camp and I looked on the internet, I was like, man, I screwed up. I wanted a full body mount. I'm like, we got to go get another one because they look so cool with like a full
I
body
wish you
mount.
would have, because that would be a great in like an entry piece. If you got a big
Yes, totally.
foyer,
Yeah,
like
totally, totally. Of course, my
yeah.
wife wasn't for it at all, but it was embarrassing because there's a group full of hunters there, and my wife sees me shoot it, and then when we get back, she's like, "Who shot that? There's no way my husband could have done that."
It was me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it. That is great. Oh, well, I guess, man, suppressors work even on ostriches.
Yeah,
There
there
you
you go.
go. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah, I shot a baboon same way, running up a hill, got him. So yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, it's like I said,
I
it
think
was odd to me that in South Africa where they're not regulated, I could just tell by the reaction of the hunters that they're not used to having someone that's the only way they hunted for a whole 10 days was just suppressed.
I bet it was a joy for them, because I know I enjoy it, and I don't hunt any other way
Right. Totally.
anymore. I mean, just man, I've got some hearing loss. Probably I think I've got significant hearing loss, and that's just from years of just not knowing better,
I
and just,
know.
and because we're stubborn,
Totally.
unfortunately,
Yeah, and you
so
probably remember times where you just forgot to put your ears on, or you didn't have them on exactly right, sealed, or just yeah.
yeah,
Especially like
yeah,
maybe someone's sighting in a gun when you first get there and you don't know it, or yeah, it's
yeah.
always something slips up, and
Oh
even
yeah.
in best intentions, it just doesn't.
Well, and think about it this way, hearing protection, and I'm gonna give a shout out for the hearing protection companies. Now, there's nothing like suppressors, but back in the day, years and years ago, when I was young, there wasn't good hearing protection. It was either, foam plugs, which that's great,
Yeah,
but I didn't know how to put those in. I just kind of jammed them in my ears, and hopefully they sealed properly. But the over the ears weren't as well developed as they are today.
right.
So, guys that are like my age and older, like there's significant hearing loss there because hearing protection just wasn't what it is today.
Yeah, totally. No,
And
totally. Yeah. And it's funny, like, I don't think people realize the impact it can have. Some people now younger, you see them on a show, they're like, well, I'm not worried about my hearing. But, even my father, who's in his mid 70s, I could just tell because he can't hear because he was in the military. And kind of like you said before,
Mhm.
before the earplugs were a thing. He just sort of disengages from the conversation because he can't follow it, he can't hear it. So when you
Right.
disengage, then you just become less cognitively active. It impacts your whole health. But no, I do think suppressors bring a whole lot more than people think, and
Yeah.
especially the media has zero appreciation of them.
0. All right. Yeah, that's a whole nother aspect. That's a whole
Yeah,
different conversation, which we will get. But as you head out in the field, man, good luck. I know I've got a lot of hunts planned, so
good.
I'm about to be in the field quite a bit, and I cannot wait to get out there.
No,
Grant,
excited for you. You'll have to
yeah.
text me some pictures. Let me know how it
Oh,
goes.
I will.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, Brandon. Silencer Central. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, KJ. Appreciate your time, sir.
All right, gun talk hunters, you know the drill. Hey, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.